the biggest snubs came from the people who were actually quiet. The real slight came not from David Foster, but I think it came from Jamie Kern-Lima, her former best friend.
But no wonder Meghan is having a collapse because Martha Stewart's turned on her this week. So too has Oprah Winfrey, both on video. And now the house has just found its way onto a real estate website. They're quietly quitting Montecito because they cannot afford it. Basically, we figured you out. And we turned on you because of what you did.
Hollywood did not need to publicly dump Meghan Markle to make the message obvious. Nobody had to hold a press conference. Nobody had to announce a friendship was over. Nobody had to post some dramatic goodbye. They just had to stop showing up. And that is exactly why Meghan's latest Hollywood problem looks so brutal. Her 45th birthday should have been the easiest victory imaginable. A glamorous milestone, famous friends, big names, expensive photos.
This was all particularly tragic given that Meghan herself had to mark her own birthday.
The kind of celebration that screams, "Look at the life I built after leaving the royal family." Instead, people were looking around and asking one very awkward question. Where was everybody? The giant A-list moment never came. The public celebrity parade never happened. And the people who were once useful proof that Meghan had entered America's most powerful social circles suddenly looked a lot quieter.
Serena didn't wish her happy birthday. Of course, they're not really talking anymore. Beyonce, she of the text, didn't do anything. The Kardashians, also insanely quiet. The only people who wished her happy birthday were Kelly Zafjan and Tracy Robbins.
That silence would already be uncomfortable. But then Jamie Kern-Lima made it even stranger.
Are the friends in your life right now real, true friends? Are they rocking chair worthy friends?
Jamie had previously been publicly warm toward Meghan. There had been affection, glowing messages, and the kind of visible friendship that fit perfectly into Meghan's Hollywood image.
Great friendship. You and I have had so many amazing days and moments sitting in these two rocking chairs at my house, just talking about all the things and
For hours.
for hours.
But around Meghan's birthday this time, that public enthusiasm was nowhere near as obvious. Then, Jamie started posting content about narcissistic personalities. Not Meghan by name, not a direct accusation, nothing that proves the posts were aimed at her. But the timing was impossible not to notice.
This Jamie Kern-Lima comment that you refer to on her Facebook, because if indeed it is true that there has been a split, this does seem pretty pointed to me, what she's written, Paula. So look at this. She writes, wondering if someone in your life is a narcissist, or maybe you've even asked, what if I'm a narcissist? Communication coach and expert Jefferson Fisher shares something comforting right off the back. If you're asking if you are one, you're probably not one, because true narcissists don't ask, they don't reflect, they don't do empathy, they only do themselves. Again, it all just feels rather pointed, as you say, on the week where there was no birthday message at all.
Before we continue, I want to mention something really quick. Organizing your family's important information is one of those things most of us know we should do, but we keep putting it off. That's exactly why there's the Family Vault. It gives you one place to organize your important documents, insurance, medical information, passwords, and more, so everything is easy to find when it's needed. You'll find the link in the description, or you can scan the QR code on your screen. That's all. Now, let's get back to today's story. A woman who had once been visibly affectionate toward Meghan goes quiet around her birthday, then starts talking about narcissistic behavior, self-reflection, and difficult relationship patterns. Coincidence? Maybe.
Who could she be talking about, Paula?
I'm not sure, but I do think it's interesting that the biggest snubs came from the people who were actually quiet.
But the problem for Meghan is that Jamie is not standing alone. Serena Williams did not suddenly turn Meghan's birthday into a huge public celebration. Beyoncé was not rushing online to make the moment about her. The Kardashians were quiet. Abigail Spencer, one of the friends who had previously been extremely enthusiastic in public, did not create the same kind of visible spectacle either.
Like Abigail Spencer last year, her Suits co-star, last year went public, this year did not. Well, that doesn't make any sense.
I think it does make sense because I think people just have had enough.
Any one of those absences could mean absolutely nothing. People are busy. Private messages exist. Flowers can arrive without Instagram seeing them. Phone calls do not need a press release. But Meghan spent years making public celebrity friendship part of the brand. That changes everything.
You know, there are a lot of people who were like, well, maybe they sent it privately, but in Meghan's world, if you don't send something publicly, it didn't happen.
When famous people are photographed with you, that matters. When they praise you, that matters. When they attend your events, that matters. When their names keep appearing around your projects, your dinners, and your launches, that becomes part of the image. So when those same public signals suddenly get weaker, people notice that too. And Meghan's birthday made the contrast even harder to ignore because the whole thing was supposed to represent her new life. Not royal life, not palace life, Hollywood life.
Because she does make this so public, it allows this sort of thing to be shown. Whereas if she had actually not posted anything on social media, the world wouldn't be able to see that. Hang on a minute, the Kardashians, Kris Jenner, I mean, even like all of these rich people that she hangs around with or gets freebies offers. There's no public. I mean, the Kardashians is quite a big snub, really, but I'm not surprised that they snub her after Photogate.
This was supposed to be the chapter where Meghan no longer needed Buckingham Palace because she had something more exciting in California. Oprah, Serena, Ellen, billionaire circles, celebrity neighbors, glamorous dinners, red carpets, a giant mansion, a lifestyle brand. The whole American reinvention. But what did the birthday actually show?
There were no congratulations or celebrations from the Kardashians or the Williams or even her Suits co-stars. So instead, as ever, the account that she runs, the account that she writes, posted this. Happy birthday to our founder, Meghan.
Hollywood rarely ends friendships with a dramatic statement. People just stop attaching themselves. They stop posting. They stop appearing. They stop defending. They stop volunteering to become part of the next headline. And that last part may be the biggest problem of all, because every public interaction around Meghan now seems capable of becoming its own controversy.
Like,
Yeah,
no
well, look at-
celebrities want to be dragged unnecessarily into a storm. And this is now happening with quite disturbing regularity. I mean, you're completely right, of course, to mention the Martha Stewart debacle last week. But remember, the Kardashian 70th, Kris Jenner's 70th birthday wasn't that long ago. And it completely overshadowed what was a major night for Kris, who, whatever you think of her, has had an incredible career, an incredible life.
Look at David Foster.
Come on, you guys. There's no planning. There's no foresight. And then when the you know what hits the fan, you're on the back foot and you amplify bad press, making everything about you instead of the event it was supposed to be about. Again, what was that David Foster event for?
Yeah, exactly. No one knows.
The red carpet moment lasted seconds. Meghan reached out while Foster moved past her. The clip spread everywhere, and suddenly people were asking whether one of Harry's longtime friends had just ignored Meghan in front of cameras. Then Foster had to explain it.
They turned simple positioning to get the best photo into a hurtful lie. Now, folks, I'm going to level with you here. Do you really think that's how David Foster talks? Do you really think that's how the straight, manly music producer who's been in this industry for decades, who's dealt with monsters for decades, really talks? They turn simple positioning to get the best photo into a hurtful lie. No.
He publicly said there had been no snub. He said he had already greeted Harry and Meghan earlier. He described them as dear friends, and argued that the awkward-looking red carpet moment was simply people moving into position for a photograph. Maybe that is exactly what happened. Maybe there was no snub at all. But that still leaves one ugly question. Why did a few seconds of body language need a public cleanup? That is the trap Meghan's celebrity circle is now facing. One glance becomes a story.
As sources close to Foster have now exclusively revealed to the Daily Mail the truth behind the perceived snub. Foster wanted Harry and Meghan the exclusive insider insisted, adding that the composer genuinely just didn't see that it has ever found her on the red carpet. He's always been a big fan of Diana, and he'd never snub either of them. Yeah, fan of Diana. Isn't that telling? That's what you call damning with faint praise. It was a genuine moment where he didn't see them and nobody really thought much of it. It's nothing. A second insider, wonder who that was.
One person walks in the wrong direction, and suddenly it is a feud. One awkward photo becomes evidence of some giant falling out. One person says something at dinner, and the next morning everybody is arguing over who heard what. That is exhausting. And famous people do not need extra chaos. They already have teams protecting their image, marriages that get picked apart, careers that depend on publicity and private events. They do not want hijacked by somebody else's drama.
David Foster did not write this statement. My belief is that Meghan Markle wrote this statement. Her PR team handed it on to Foster and McPhee, who reluctantly via their teams agreed to issue it to People magazine, which was a big mistake.
So imagine being a celebrity standing near Meghan at a party. Do you want a normal photo? Or do you want that photo analyzed for the next 3 days? Do you want to casually say hello? Or do you want people zooming in on your face to decide whether you secretly hate her? Do you want to invite her to dinner? Or do you want your private conversation turned into another argument about Meghan's royal relationships? Because Martha Stewart just showed how quickly that can happen.
I had dinner with Meghan Markle the other night. Well, she was at the same table. So I can't say, she wasn't my guest. I was a guest. We were both guests at a dinner party in California. And she had just gotten back from the palace. And I think I didn't talk to her really more than to say a couple words, but I know she was talking about it. If you're an actress, it's hard to then transition to a princess, and then from a princess into a homemaking guru on a television show. It doesn't sort of follow. So go for it.
Martha described being at the same California dinner as Meghan after Meghan had returned from a palace visit. She did not describe some screaming match. She did not claim they were close friends. She did not need a giant confrontation. She simply said Meghan had been talking about the trip, and that was enough to open another mess. Because any discussion involving Meghan and the royal family is treated like nuclear material.
She still has it. She's going to say what she wants to say. It doesn't matter. And and bless Martha Stewart for coming out and even saying this. I think a lot more celebrities that have been in contact with Meghan need to call her out. They need to say things that we're all thinking, because we don't respect them, but we totally respect Martha Stewart for saying what, just in the very casual, nonchalant kind of way that she said it. We feel that.
Was she talking about King Charles? Was she discussing a reunion? Was the trip supposed to stay private? How much was said? Who heard it? Suddenly, one dinner became another public dispute. Then came the pushback. The version from Meghan's side was that Martha had essentially misunderstood the situation, and that Meghan had only made a very basic comment about her European trip. The fact that the two women were not sitting right beside each other was also used to challenge how much Martha could really have heard.
She has been briefing to the Daily Mail, trying to make us believe that Martha Stewart was lying. A source close to Meghan saying that Martha must have been confused. I'm sorry, Meghan. We believe Martha.
Yeah.
Martha, who has, 7 decades of telling us the truth, 7 decades of sharing every aspect of her life, 7 decades of total authenticity.
And there it was again. Another celebrity, another awkward interaction, another argument over what happened. David Foster has to explain that he did not ignore Meghan. Martha Stewart says she heard Meghan discussing the trip. Meghan's side says that is not really what happened. How many simple social moments need a sequel? That is what makes this bigger than one red carpet or one dinner. The problem is not that every celebrity secretly hates Meghan. There is no proof of that. The problem is risk.
But what you have, Meghan, is 10 years of lies. So I'm sorry,
Right.
I trust Martha.
That's
And
right.
you're calling
You don't
Martha a liar.
Right. Just make it worse, don't you? Just make it worse for yourself.
Being publicly close to Meghan can now mean becoming part of a Meghan story, whether you want to or not. And once people understand that, silence becomes very attractive. No post, no photo, no giant birthday tribute, no public display of closeness. Nothing that can be freeze-framed, dissected, and turned into another Sussex argument. That is how a celebrity circle can shrink without anybody ever officially leaving it. And then there is the birthday guest list.
And Jeff Bezos was hosting this party for her. She got the great and the good there, and all anyone was talking about was Harry and Meghan because of the way that they chose to escalate something that was quite small into a major international scandal. This is what they do. They can just never shut up.
The names connected to the kind of huge celebration Meghan was reportedly expected to want were massive. Oprah Winfrey, Ellen DeGeneres, Serena Williams, Amal Clooney. Exactly the kind of people whose presence would instantly tell the public that Meghan was still surrounded by Hollywood royalty. But that giant event never materialized. And suddenly, Meghan's own birthday became a scoreboard. Not for who was there, for who was missing.
It's just Meghan celebrating Meghan. Meghan wishing herself, birthday messages from Meghan to Meghan.
That is a terrible position for someone whose entire post-royal image has been built around access. Access to famous people. Access to luxury. Access to exclusive circles. Access to celebrity power. Take that away, and the picture changes very quickly. The mansion is still there. Harry is still there. The lifestyle brand is still there. The polished photos are still there. But the public validation from giant celebrity names does not look nearly as loud as it once did.
How do you make friends as an adult? It's such a great question.
There was one public message, one. Nothing from the royal family, nothing from any A-list friends, one message publicly from Kelly J. Zedgefan, who wrote, "Happy birthday to this great dream girl. You are very loved."
And now, even the mansion is getting dragged into the instability. Montecito was supposed to be the ultimate symbol of the escape. A giant California estate, palm trees, privacy, space, celebrity neighbors, no palace rules, no royal hierarchy, no dreary institutional backdrop. It was not just a house. It was part of the story Meghan and Harry were selling. They had left one world and upgraded into another. But now questions are circling around whether they could eventually sell.
Meghan Markle is trying to sell the house, but do so on the quiet. Like, she can't just put it on the market because imagine.
There is no confirmed public listing of the Sussex mansion. That matters. The house cannot honestly be described as officially on the market. But speculation has grown that Harry and Meghan could be quietly testing interest rather than openly listing it, especially after the property received renewed attention on real estate platforms, and parts of the interior became visible again through Meghan's birthday content. Does that prove a sale is happening? No. But look at the timing.
So this idea of getting it on the real estate websites, trying to sort of suggest, oh, look, our kitchen has been updated, even though nothing has really changed. And Nancy Sidley pointing out, my girl Restine Dollface was right. Why would this be in a Realtor magazine? And there is the headline on Realtor.com. Meghan Markle starts her 45th birthday with a pajama party around the kitchen of $14.7 million Montecito mansion. I mean, there's no way that they need to write about it on a website like that, P. Dina, unless the house is going to be coming up for sale.
The birthday looked smaller. Major celebrity friends were quieter. Jamie Kern-Lima's sudden silence was being noticed. Martha Stewart was caught in another public disagreement involving Meghan. David Foster was forced to explain an awkward red carpet clip. And then, at the same moment, people started asking whether the Montecito house itself could eventually be the next thing to change. That is when the entire picture starts to feel less like random bad luck and more like an image problem. That is also why the Montecito rumors hit harder than ordinary real estate gossip. The house has always carried symbolic weight beyond bedrooms, acreage, or price. It represented the argument that Harry and Meghan traded royal restrictions for a richer, more glamorous American life.
And they cannot afford that home. It's so many things that are going wrong. And it's like the more they try to say or to put out there, the worse it is. Don't they know that we are on to her? Like, we get it. Nothing is working. Like, what has worked for them, Dan? What?
Well,
Nothing.
So even unconfirmed questions about whether they might leave it collide with the same weakness appearing elsewhere Symbols that once made the reinvention look untouchable are no longer doing all the work. The famous friends look quieter, the events look smaller, and now even the backdrop of their California success story is being discussed as something that might change. Then came one more twist. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have reportedly been looking at Montecito, and the symbolism is almost too perfect.
Oh, what's that? What's that? Just the biggest Sussex PR disaster since Kris Kardashian's Photogate. Yep.
Taylor and Travis are one of the most famous celebrity couples in the world. They potentially look in. Harry and Meghan face rumors about potentially looking out. Again, that does not mean Taylor Swift is replacing Meghan Markle. It does not mean Harry and Meghan are being pushed out of their neighborhood. It does not mean there is some ridiculous celebrity battle happening behind the gates of Montecito. But image is everything in Hollywood. And symbolically, the contrast is vicious.
We already know the history. We know how Meghan shows up. We've been seeing it and talking about it for years. Meghan just can't win. There's no way for her to win, but to really, really, truly, and believably change your attitude, change who you are.
Montecito was supposed to prove that Harry and Meghan had arrived. The mansion was the physical version of their American success story. Leave royal duty, move to California, sign huge deals, live beside celebrities, build a business, create a powerful new circle. Show the world you did not lose status by leaving the monarchy. You gained it, but now look at what people see instead. A birthday where the biggest celebrities did not publicly rush in.
Yeah, 6, 7, 8 photographs, plus various posts, plus a video. This is really celebrating quietly. But this is Meghan. She doesn't want to celebrate it quietly.
A much smaller celebration. Controlled photos, social media content, a kitchen moment, a little birthday tiara, her own brand celebrating its own founder, a few loyal people, and then a giant empty space where the biggest Hollywood names were expected to be. That is why the silence hurts more than some obvious public fight. And that is what makes the birthday silence so damaging.
It reminds me, she had a watch inscribed many years ago. She bought herself a tank watch and she had it inscribed for the future daughter that she might one day have. And it was like 2mm from mm. And it's still very much the same. Meghan can't help herself. She has to celebrate herself. We saw very, very similar when it was their anniversary. It was the celebration of Meghan. Everything was geared up for Meghan. And then this.
Meghan does not need every famous friend to post. But when celebrity proximity has been used as proof that she belongs at the center of Hollywood, the absence of that energy becomes part of the story. The celebration can still look elegant. The photos can still look polished. The brand can still make the day feel curated. But none of those things replace the instant status signal that comes when recognizable names publicly gather around you. Once that signal weakens, the image starts depending more on Meghan herself.
And it's really a replay of what happened with Martha Stewart last week. You take something and instead of ignoring it and letting it die, you make someone come out with a statement, and all of a sudden there's second day, third day, fourth day news on something that shouldn't have been amplified at all, but they keep doing it over and over.
A former, visibly warm friend suddenly much quieter while discussing narcissistic personalities online. A David Foster clip so awkward that he ended up publicly explaining it. A Martha Stewart dinner story that turned into another fight over Meghan's words. And a mansion surrounded by fresh sale speculation. The most damaging part is that none of this can be blamed on the palace. Prince William is not needed for this story. King Charles is not needed. Royal aides are not needed. British tabloids are not needed. This is Meghan's chosen world. Hollywood, California, celebrity friendships, private dinners, red carpets, her business, her home. That is why this moment feels different.
And they also don't think ahead. So if we're talking about the Kardashian birthday party, look at Beyonce and Jay-Z, who didn't go through the main entrance, asked to go through the side door, so there were no actual arrival photos of them. But Meghan and Harry don't even think far enough ahead for Meghan to have worn a poppy on her weird black dress that evening.
For years, every crisis could somehow be connected back to the royal war. The palace was cold. The institution failed her. The family did not protect her. The British media was hostile. But what is the explanation when Hollywood simply gets quieter? Who do you blame when celebrities stop turning public friendship into a performance? Who do you blame when a birthday that should have looked enormous suddenly looks controlled and small? Who do you blame when every public interaction starts requiring an explanation afterward? At some point, the royal excuse cannot cover what is happening in California. And no, this does not mean Meghan literally has no friends. That would be ridiculous.
What's so interesting, by the way, is that as that one pointed out, Meghan Markle clearly never takes her own advice. Watch.
My teacher, Miss Puglia, said, keep a good heart. I think it's one of those simple things that you can always remember no matter what situation you're in. Just keep a good heart.
Oh, keep a good heart.
Before we continue, one quick thing. One thing I've realized is that most families don't have their important information organized in one place. That's exactly why I recommend the Family Vault, a simple, printable, and fillable organizer where you can keep everything from important documents and insurance to medical information, passwords. You'll find the link in the description, or you can simply scan the QR code on your screen. Now let's get back to today's story. David Foster himself publicly described Harry and Meghan as dear friends. Meghan clearly still has loyal people around her. Private friendships can exist without Instagram. There is no evidence that every celebrity relationship has collapsed. But that is not the real question. The real question is whether Hollywood is still willing to play the role Meghan once needed it to play. Is Hollywood still willing to publicly validate her? Is it still willing to show up loudly? Is it still willing to let its biggest names become part of Meghan's image? Because right now, that machine looks weaker. The famous names are not as visible. The birthday was not the A-list spectacle people expected. The celebrity encounters that do happen keep becoming ugly headlines.
How do you get rid of a narcissist in your life? And I thought, well, you pretty much did it right there, babe.
And even the house that represented the California dream is now being discussed as something that could one day be left behind. Meghan can control a photograph. She can control a social media post. She can control how her kitchen looks. She can control the branding around a product. She can smile on a carpet and show the world a polished image. But she cannot force Beyoncé to post. She cannot force Serena to create a public spectacle. She cannot force Abigail Spencer to gush online. She cannot make Jamie Kern Lima's silence invisible. She cannot erase the David Foster clip. She cannot make Martha Stewart's dinner comments disappear. And she cannot stop people from asking questions once the Montecito mansion enters the rumor machine.
And here was the headline. No, David Foster did not snub dear friend Meghan Markle on the red carpet at charity events. So basically, what you saw with your own eyes didn't happen, says Meghan propagandist. You don't need to be doing this, mate. You know how awful they are. But he did.
That is the problem. The harder Meghan tries to prove that her Hollywood world is strong, the more people look behind her and count who is missing. Maybe every one of these stories is unrelated. Maybe Jamie's posts had nothing to do with Meghan. Maybe the birthday was always supposed to be small. Maybe every celebrity sent private messages. Maybe David Foster's red carpet moment was completely innocent. Maybe Martha misunderstood a casual comment. Maybe the mansion is not going anywhere. Every one of those explanations is possible, but image is built from patterns.
Yeah, there's no one of note actually wishing her happy birthday. I don't think even her friends Abigail Spencer even gave a public gushing one. She's normally very gushy, but yeah.
Well,
it
she did
seems that-
last year, and they share a
Yes.
birthday, so it was particularly strange.
And the pattern around Meghan right now is not one of Hollywood rushing closer. It is one of Hollywood becoming quieter. That may be the most humiliating kind of rejection, because nobody has to say a word. No dramatic breakup. No official feud. No public announcement. Just fewer people standing beside you when the cameras are on. So what do you think? Are we looking at a handful of random, awkward moments all landing at the same time? Or is Meghan Markle finally discovering that Hollywood friendship becomes much less impressive when the famous people stop performing it in public? Because the biggest warning may not be one man walking past her on a red carpet. It may be an entire celebrity world, deciding that staying silent is easier than becoming the next Meghan Markle headline.